Can you hear me now? Great, you can hear me now. Hi, hello. All right, I'm literally stepping up right against the dog's crate here. It's like right at my knee. But as you can see, I got more lights. Look at this, check it out. I got more lights. All right, so I've got this light here. There's one ring light there and then another ring light here. So I've got two ring lights now. Their positioning needs a little bit of work right now, right? But I think that we're getting into the space where I actually think this looks way cooler than it did before, because if you move it just a little bit, hold on, like that, right? Oh, hold on. You can't really see. So now you can't actually see this thing, right? Because I'm blocking this thing here. So it looks kind of like I'm just looking at this. I'm standing in front of this big open window. Here, let's just, I mean, I still need you to be able to see my face. So let me get my iced tea, hold on. So yeah, so baby steps, working on setting this up and getting it going, which is super exciting. Hi, Elisa, good morning. Where's my Kleenex? Oh, there it is. Okay, so yeah, can you tell I'm a little bit behind? Well, I mean, I'm always a little bit behind, but today is a good day for me to share with you where all this stuff is coming from. So here is my home. Hi, good morning. Oh my God, check that out. The chat is there. Okay, let me move the chat. No, wait, that's not the chat. That's me. Let's move the chat. Did I lock the chat? Hold on, chat box is not locked. There we go. Let's move it there just so that we can see everybody. Alrighty, so, no, here we go. There we go. Okay, perfect. All right, so, hey, now, here's going to be the funny part. I guarantee to you at some point I'm going to look here. I'm going to look here. I don't think I'm going to look over there. I don't think that's going to happen. I'll look there. I'll probably look here as well because I'm going to forget where the camera is. So the one thing that I have discovered that I really need to do is get like a Post-it or something and like put it, be like, this is the camera, you know, because right now I have so many spaces where the camera could be, especially considering I want to get, I'm going to start recording with my iPad as well and start doing like Instagram lives too to just get them both going. So that's super fun. Alrighty. So guys, make sure that you let everybody know that that we're live for the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast. We're getting ready to hit the road on this. There's some big stuff we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about planning for 2022 and why it's so hard for some of us to do that. This is going to be a little bit different from the way that we usually do our podcast recordings. So usually the way that the podcast is recorded is when I'm usually in my studio. But today I wanted to give everybody the opportunity to see this as we tested this out. I still need to get another microphone because I need a proper like mic for podcasting. But hey, this is a good start. But we're going to actually just share this whole podcast as it is. We're not going to do the way we usually do it because this is the end of the year podcast. And I want to talk a little bit about just sort of how I plan for the end of my year, how I plan for the next year, and how I keep progress going in my business and how my clients do that. Because one of the things that I think that has become really clear to me over the years is that the people that I work with, you guys are really, really good at what you do. And you know how to change your customers' lives and you are experts in your industry. But the thing that you struggle with is the same thing that all business owners struggle with, which is being able to set up a strategy to monetize what you're doing so you can make money in such a way that it doesn't take up all of your time to do that. So you have no time to do the things that you're an expert in, right? Because if you're an expert in something, right? So like I'm an expert in social media, I'm an expert in business strategy, stuff like that. I'm not actually making money, right? Unless I'm actually working with someone or people in that area, right? So like you're not going to pay me to sit and figure out my own internal issues, right? That's not your job to pay me for that, right? That's something that I do for myself. It's not your job to pay me for administrative work that I need to get done, right? It's you pay me for the things that I give you as in return for income, right? Hi, Amy, you're here. Oh my God, I missed you so much. I've missed you forever. I mean, you took a great vacation. I'm really excited that you did, but I've missed you. So what ends up happening is that, oh my goodness, I totally lost my train of thought. I got so excited seeing Amy. I just totally lost my train of thought. Okay, I'll come back to it. Don't worry about it. I'm glad you like the backdrop. Totally awesome. You can see my shining lights. So I'm going to have to get to the point where like I might need to do that, right? I was making a joke all day yesterday as I was setting these up. There are 4 lights. So that was super fun. Hi, Anne. Good to see you. Hello. Okay, so what was I saying? Planning. I was talking about planning, right? Oh, yeah. If you're not spending time on the things that actually make you money, right? And you're spending all your time on strategy, promotion, in social media, blah, 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 then you're not actually making money. And chances are that you are feeling a little weird inside about that, right? Because that's the feeling that you get inside where you're just like, I don't understand why this isn't actually doing the thing that I'm trying to make it do. Like, I'm good at what I do, but yet I can't get people to give me money for it, or I can't get people to buy. And it can be very, very disheartening, and it can be very, very demoralizing because you think that it's about you and your skill sets in terms of your area of expertise, right? So like because you're not good at marketing, you start to doubt everything else. Like maybe it's just not the marketing thing. Maybe I'm the problem, right? Maybe that's the thing, right? And it's not. I guarantee you are not the problem. I know you guys. You're great at what you do. The issue really is about how you approach your coming year, right? Most of us have these really big plans for the coming year. We have all these great ideas and we're like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. But how often do you really sit down and reflect and think about what you're actually trying to do? Okay, like really, what are you actually trying to do on a day-to-day basis? What do you want your mornings to look like? What do you want your income to look like? Where do you want your income to come from? We spend a lot of time planning for the sexy things, but we don't spend a lot of time in the areas where we really need to be spending time, which is the stuff that actually creates the momentum and the progress for our business moving forward, right? So yes, that was my Picard reference. Yes. I knew that there were people in here who would be like, they're awful lights. There's only two, but it's fine. We'll get two more. So what we're going to talk about today is the way that I approach how I plan for the year. I have done this every year for the last 5 years or so. This is the same system I use every time. A couple of years I've actually done workshops where you guys have gone through this process with me and we've planned out for your future, for the next year. I'm not doing that this year, but I will do that next year. So that's actually on my plan for next year, is to create a workshop where instead of just doing this one live, we do the one live, I tell you about it, and then we do like a weekend workshop where we sit down together and we figure out your plan for the year in like 4 hours or 5 hours. We just, we punch it out and then you're done, right? So you're good for the year, you have your plan, you know what to do, everybody's happy. But these things are iterative, right? So I've been doing this for 5 years. I've worked with clients on it for about the last 3, right? Because I first had to figure out how it works. Then I had to like do a guinea pig. Then I had to test it out on other people. And now it's just a thing that we do, right? Now I need to figure out what the system is so that I can now make it into a course. I want to help you do that same thing for your business, which is that when you look back on the last 5 years, right, of the things that I've done, and especially if you've been following me the last 5 years, you know that it hasn't been that, like, this is the destination I was always trying to get to. 2022, like, I can tell where I'm at right now in 2022. And when I started my business in 2017, 2022, what I'm going to have this year was what I was actually aiming for. And every year I was trying to make that the year that it happened. But when I look back onto like the last several years, I can tell that it was never going to happen at that speed, that this is the pace at which it happens, right? But it didn't matter that I hadn't hit that goal, because I was making money the whole time. I was growing the whole time. I was building relationships the whole time. Like, my business was a strong entity during that time, right? So what many of us think is that if we don't plan to succeed and hit the ball right out of the park that first year, then that is us saying we're aiming too low, or we're not actually, or we don't actually believe in ourselves, or we're not going to, hit it because we're not aiming high enough, right? All of these are stories that we've heard over the years from various people that keep us locked in a space where it's very hard to make progress. It is really, really hard to make progress in the methodologies that we have been using. Now, for some people, it works great, right? And that's fab, right? If it works well for you the way other people do it, then keep doing it, right? Nothing wrong with that. But one of the things that I'm very proud of is that I am not like other people, right? I didn't used to be proud of it. I used to feel like a weirdo and ashamed and scared. But the truth is, I'm not like other people. I march to the beat of a different drummer. And if you follow me, then you are also not like other people. There is something about you that's different in some way, shape, or form. You feel it inside. You know what it is for yourself. Maybe you haven't had a chance to really identify it, but whatever it is, you know that what works for others doesn't work for you, and you're tired of trying to make it work, right? And like, you're just like, oh my God, can you just give me something that works, right? This will work for you. This will work for you. Okay, so we're gonna talk a little bit about how that goes. All right, so Ashley says, I'm fabulous at what I do. I'm just spending so much time doing the things I hate to do in order to do things I love to do. That's exactly the problem that almost all of us struggle with when we first start out. we spend a lot of time doing the things that we hate to do and not doing the things that we love to do. And what's really interesting is I recently started delving into my human design, and it's so fascinating because there are a few things that I was actually trying out since we moved to this house that I was trying out in terms of slowing down and behaving in a different way that was taking a lot of intention and a lot of energy. And Amy, you're here. Amy, you're still here. Amy mentioned to me that she said she could tell, and a lot of you guys who are close to me, you can tell when something's not quite right with me or when something's off. And often I don't know what it is either. Otherwise I would tell you, right? Or if I was ready to share, I would tell you. I'm ready to share now, by the way, so I'm going to tell you. But I didn't even know what it was, and it wasn't until the last couple of days that I was like, I understand. I understand what was happening, and I'm going to share it with you because I guarantee something similar is happening with you as well, and you're probably in pain from it, but not knowing how or why you're in pain from it. So what today's podcast is really going to be is I'm going to walk you through my process for how I plan for my year and what I do. And then I'm going to draw the parallels for you in your own lives, and then just give you some ideas for what you can do to overcome those. Because like those are the same things I had to overcome. Okay, why am I making the, no, you cannot say, I don't know what, the N word is not acceptable, and I'm assuming we're talking about the same N word. That is completely unacceptable in any shape or form in any society. So if there's a different N word that you're talking about that maybe I don't know, but I'm just telling you right now, the N word that I usually think of when I think of the N word is unacceptable, by any stretch of the imagination. Unfortunately I would have to find a way to remove you if you used it, but I don't know that I'm gonna be able to do that. But I'll figure it out if I need to. Okay, so, alrighty. You are here. Hello, Grand Rising. So we're always the last to realize the changes within us. Those closest to us see it first, but can't always articulate it. It's true. And, and also people see, like, you're going to interpret where I'm at through your own lens, right? So you'll tell me based off of like what you think. Now, fortunately, we're all close enough and we know each other. We use the same language. So like, it's easier to say, hey, listen, I think that that I'm noticing this about you. And I may not know what, like, I'm like, of course I'm going to get defensive right away and be like, no, we're not. Right. But then once I've worked through that, I'll figure out, you know what, you were right. When you mentioned that, what was happening inside me was this. So I'm going to share that with you a little bit today. So, all right, I'm going to go into my, I had a friend who kept a prayer journal and would go back and read it for years ago and was amazed by how many things had come to pass. Dude, that is like, when I think back on the things that have come to pass in my life that I have predicted, I am shocked. The funny thing is I remember what I thought at the time, and it was one of those things where it was vague enough, but like specific enough. Like it was really weird. I mean, one of the biggest manifestations of my life is this, right? I mean, this has been my prayer for 30 years. Since I was 14 years old, this view has been my prayer. And man, it took 30 years to come to pass, but you know what? It came to pass, so I'm happy. All right, let's talk a little bit about plans and what's going on. Okay, so, all right, let's make this big. Okay, so, let me make it bigger so I can see what we're talking about here. Okay, so, usually when I start the podcast, what I do is I start by giving the identification of the problem and then the solution, what we've done, how we got here, blah, 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 all of that. But the truth is that would take up entirely too much time to talk about why we approach business the way we do and why we approach our planning the way we do. We have plenty of time to figure that out over the course of the next several years. The more important thing is taking the action now. So for the moment, I'm not going to tell you how we got here. I'm just going to tell you, here we are and we need to make a change. This is the change, right? When we think about planning for the coming year, and I want to actually know, so like I am going back and forth between the chat and this for this podcast. So I want to know, when you think about the coming year and planning for the coming year, do you feel overwhelmed? Like how far in the future do you feel comfortable planning, right? So like some people are like, I can plan a week into the future. I can plan a month into the future. I can plan blah, blah, right? I personally cannot plan a year into the future. That's just not happening, dude. Like in no world am I planning a year into the future. My brain does not function that way. And I tried to force that for the first year, and it was too exhausting, too overwhelming, and I just let it go. And I realized that, you know what, if I try to force myself to do it the way other people do it that way, I'm just not going to do it. So I'm going to find my own way of doing it, because making progress 3 to 6 months at a time is better than making no progress at all, which I wasn't making at all when I was trying to think in a year, right? So the first thing that I want to share with you is that in order for you to actually to call it a plan for your future, you need to be planning out at least 3 months. At minimum 3 months. 6 months is good. 3 months is necessary, but after that, it can be as hazy as possible. So here's the way that I recommend doing it. I plan out the 3 months coming up, Jan, Feb, March, and actually April. I'm planning those 4 incredibly detailed. I know exactly what I'm doing for those 4 months. What do I need to do? What do I need to accomplish? When am I selling things? What am I selling? What am I promoting? What are my ads? Blah, blah, blah. I'm putting all of that there. Those 4 months. But May onward, so May and June is a little bit loose because the thing that I know I have to do in May is work with my audience to remind them that June, July, and August are going to be tough months. Kids are going to be out of school, blah, blah. This happens every year, and every year my entire audience forgets it, including me. So last year we put it in my calendar to make sure that for those 4 months that we're the June, July, May, June, July, August, that we're working in from a capacity of planning for the holiday season, right? So like, I know that generally speaking, I'm going to be doing blah, 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 but I don't know in detail what that's going to be. But the next 4 months, January through April, are planned in incredible detail, okay? So you don't have to feel like you have to plan out the full year. Get a general idea for what it is. You're like, oh, okay, I want to do this for the year, right? I want to do this for the year, and I just get more and more hazy as it goes out, okay? So I have a general idea of what I want to complete for the year, and I'll tell you what that is. So my general idea for what I want, right, out of 2022 is I want to work on my art and sketching, because I want to use Instagram to push my ideas and these philosophies using the same artwork that, or like my own version of Blessing, Manifesting, and Positively Present. I don't have the book in here. It's in the other room. I love their artwork. I find that I absorb what they offer me really easily. It's very consumable. It makes a difference in my life, and I think it would make a difference in your life as well. So I want to do it that way. But in order to do that, I need to get better at my art. And I know that I have the talent and the skills as an artist because I am an artist. My dad's an artist. My sister's an artist. I've been painting since I was a kid. I stopped when I was in my teens because my best friend killed himself. And he was the person who inspired my art. And so after that, there was a lot of psychological stuff that went on, and I eventually just gave it up. Now that I'm older and I'm in a different space in life and time, I feel very, very differently about the things that I was doing. He was so good at it. I always felt like so impostery, and it was awful, right? So he encouraged me, and then when he was gone, there wasn't a whole lot for me to do. Now I'm back. I'm going to do that, right? Because I know what I can do with it. I'm really excited. That's number 1, my plan, okay? 2 is to improve my market penetration by designing a media plan and creating more visibility for me in local and niche markets, okay? So that's really key for me. I want to build more local and niche markets, and I need a PR plan for that. And so in Q1 of next year, I'm going to be working with a PR person for that. The third goal I have is to use that platform in the second part of the year and also in the first part of the year to amplify LGBTQ voices, especially trans voices, Indigenous voices, and for heaven's sake, Southeast Asian voices and Black voices. Those are things that are very important to me, and I want that to be part of my goal for next year. And then fourth is increasing my prices and creating more opportunities for people to buy things from me. A weekend intensive, a mastermind, 2023, Amy Lee Westervelt and I are going to do something really, really big. But those are my 4 big things that I want to do this year, okay? Increase my prices, amplify voices, get a bigger market penetration, and work on my art to make a difference in other people's lives. My word of the year, okay? So, but what I do instead, since that's my general thing that I want to do next year. So I'm setting intention, right? So when you think about your year, I want you to think about it in terms of 4 loosey-goosey intentions that are like, and by loosey-goosey, I mean that like, you don't have to decide right at the beginning exactly what you want. What I just read to you is the conclusion of several weeks and months of me thinking and pondering, and do I want to do this and do I not want to do this, and a few major milestones happened that allowed me to write this down. But I only wrote this down yesterday, okay? I've been thinking about it for a very long time, but I wrote this down last night, right? And I wrote this down last night because I finally overcame a huge block for me, and we're going to talk about the huge block because that's the thing that's probably blocking you as well. Okay, so number 1 is you have your 4 basics of this is the things that I want to do this year. Don't overwhelm yourself by trying to come up with 5,000 things that you need to do. Really think about bigger overarching ideas and things that you will have many little things that actually lead up to it, right? So for me to become good at my art, I need to practice, take art class, I've got my iPad. There's like a lot of things that I'm going to do that will get me there to hit that goal, but that's just the direction that I'm trying to go in. Okay. So, all right, let's see. For 2022, I'm taking it quarter by quarter. Dude, yep, quarterly goals are realistic. Absolutely. Quarterly goals are great. I'm a big fan of quarterly. And then as I get close to like the next quarter, it starts to fill itself in. I'm like, okay, based on my overarching goals for the year, my word for the year, and how far I've come. What am I going to do this next quarter? And then you just kind of push it forward as you go. And then by the end of the year, you're like, oh, look at me. I made all this progress, right? It's fabulous. Totally overwhelmed by just thinking about January. I feel okay for the next week or so, but January seems too big, right? And so I think the question you want to ask yourself when you do that is, why does January seem big, right? What is it about January in particular? Because what that tells me is that there is an idea, a meaning that you've attached to January, right? That you want to divorce it from. So all of these things, right? So like the annual plan that we often have been told to do, there's something uncomfortable about that I had to go in and massage. Once I went in and massaged it and figured out what it was, and I was like, okay, I don't like, it seems too overwhelming for me. Exactly the words you used, Christy, but only for the whole year, let's say, right? So my first step is going in and saying, okay, what is it that's overwhelming me? And for me, I realized that it was thinking so far out. I knew that it wasn't going to, whatever I planned for in the second and the third and fourth quarter wouldn't stick. I knew that things change over the course of the year. I was just like, it doesn't seem like a good use of time for me to plan that far out when I know so many things are going to change, right? And I really had to think about the realisticness of it. And I was like, it's just a waste of time. I don't think it's a practical use of my time, right? And so I massaged it and I ended up just not planning for that because I figured out what the actual problem was, right? So what I want to recommend is think about January. Why is it feeling that way for you? If it's because, for example, you're like, listen, my life is, because I know your life is freaking chaotic, right? So if you're like, dude, my life is just too chaotic. I can't plan for January right now. I'm pregnant, blah, 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 this whole thing. Then in that case, this is a practical decision that you're making and saying, look, the way that my life is, this doesn't work for me, but I know I need to plan for 3 months ahead. Is there a way for me to like get like one milestone each month instead of like planning, which is just too much? Can I just say, okay, January, I'm going to launch, like February, I'm going to launch my Valentine's candles. Done. Okay, there you go. One thing you've got down, you plan for Feb. January, I'm going to experiment with making the candles. Done, you know? And then March, I'm going to experiment with a different type of candle. Done. Okay, there's your 3 months. And it's very light and loose, and slowly start to go in and fill it in. Because one of the issues that I know that all of you are going to have is that you're probably going to want to sit down and write out everything as it's supposed to be when you sit down. So you're going to be like, I'm going to plan for 2022. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to plan. And you're going to start, I don't know how you write, but whatever, right? And you're going to want it to come out perfect right then. That's not how this works. The way this works is you write the shittiest plan you've ever read. You look at it and you're like, oh my God, I may as well just give up business. I'm done. Finished. Failure. That's exactly how you're going to feel. It's fine. Walk away. Just walk away. Come back after you've had a chance to marinate on it. Look at what you've written. Write a little bit more. It's going to take you a few months to get through this entirely, which is why I'm telling you, don't feel a lot of pressure for yourself to get this plan done. As long as you're thinking about it, that's all that matters. The thinking about it is more than enough to get going, right? Now, you're working your way towards writing these things down and doing that and like getting to the space where you have it all written down and you're totally organized. But that's going to take time, and this is probably your first time thinking about planning for your year this way. Don't overdo it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. I promise you, I commit to you in this moment. As long as you are taking steps forward, progress will happen. Intentional steps forward, progress will happen. Progress doesn't happen for people because oftentimes they're just doing stuff. You're just like, oh, I have this list of things to do. I'm just going to cross this off. I'm 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 just randomly cross things off because, oh, this is quick. Oh, this is fast. Oh, this is easy. Oh, I can do this now. You're not actually intentionally selecting activities that can create progress in your business. You're just selecting things you can get done. That is why you remain stuck. It's because you're not making progress. You're just doing stuff, right? So that's really important to keep in mind as you do the activities that you do, is ask yourself this question. Is this in furtherance of my business, or am I just doing this because I want to cross something off my list and feel good about it? And then make your decision about whether or not you're going to do it at that moment, right? Okay. Alrighty. Okay. And Ashley said this very, very correctly. You have to make goals that support your nervous system. Otherwise, you will go into freak out mode. Ashley did a great video. I think she did it in her group. So Ashley, if you could do this on your public page, that would be super awesome if you don't mind. Ashley did a great live about how overwhelming your nervous system actually overshocks your body, and then you just don't do anything. It was so good, and it's a great explanation. And I know that most of you guys in the squad know this, but I know that there's a lot of new people who follow along, and I want you to get this information because this is really important. It is why you end up in fight or flight sometimes without recognizing it. Oh my God, it's amazing. Yeah, you are the queen of doing stuff. I know no one who can get as many things done as you can. You do so much stuff. but your intentionality and progress, that's the area where you want to massage, which is very common, by the way. It's not uncommon. Okay, so now, oh, this is not my planning document. Okay, so the next thing that I recommend is having a word for the year. Now, that's something that you are probably already doing. It's something very, very common. Lots of people do it. So if you're doing the word of the year, stick with it. My word for the year is surrender. Okay. And I really had to think about that word. I was stuck between two words. I decided upon surrender because I want only one word, because it allows me to focus on what it is that I'm trying to accomplish this year. Every year, the word of the year has really helped me to become a better version of myself. And the reason why I picked surrender is because I feel like I need to control everything. And if there is anything I've learned in this last couple of years, it's that you can only control what you do. You can only control your actions. The outcome and other people's response to that is uncontrollable. It is uncontrollable, and you just have to let it go. I have a hard time letting it go because I am, and I'm confessing this, my therapist and I talked about this, I'm confessing this, Amy Lee and I talked about this too. I am the alpha in every aspect of my life. I am dominant. I have a very dominant personality. When I walk into a room, I tend to dominate. And I'm not saying, like, it's one of those things where it's like, you're like, I don't want to really say it because it sounds like you're being like, oh, look at me, I'm all that. But that's not really what it is. It's just, I am dominant. I have just a dominant way of being. And I will tell you, it's exhausting. It is so tiring to always be dominant. It is so tiring to always be alpha, to always try to be controlling, okay? You are trying to do the same thing in your business. You're always trying to dominate your business. You're trying to control your business. You also are constantly trying to dominate and control other people in terms of, I want you to buy from me. I want you to like the thing that I have. I want you, and you're trying to control that outcome. You're trying to dominate it, right? So and those of you who are very good at that, you dominate everywhere you go. And then those of you who try to dominate, but it's just really hard for you to dominate because you're just like, you have so many other things in your life that you need to do. And being in charge and in control, and the person controlling things, especially for things that you actually have no control over, is exhausting because it just depletes your battery constantly, right? And so for someone like me whose personality is naturally tending towards being dominant, I am just constantly losing energy, just losing it all the time. So what initially sounds like, look at me, I'm so dominant, is actually like, oh my God, look at me, I'm so fucking dominant. I do not want to be this person, right? I don't want to be in this space. So it is really important for me this year to concentrate on letting go of control and surrendering to the outcome, surrendering to the universe. So I'm working really hard at learning things that I know nothing about. I'm working on my art. I've been spending more time in indigenous spaces to be educated, and I'm going in as a child, a baby who is being educated, okay? Because that is the most surrender that I can do, is just say, I know nothing, please teach me. I went into the Wampanoag Museum the other day, and the woman who, the curator, Mother Bear, she said, can I help you? Do you have any questions? I said, you can help me. I was like, I am here to learn, and I'm in your hands. You tell me what I need to know right now, right? And she was great. We had the best time ever because she's like, all right, let's do this. And we just went through, and she told me everything that she thought I needed. And we actually skipped over a room, and she said, we're not doing this room. She said, we'll go into the other room. I'm like, okay, I am in your hands. You tell me what I need to learn. And it was freeing, and it was humbling, and it was wonderful, right? So I want more experiences like that. So I'm looking for more spaces where I can say, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me, right? I want that feeling more. Okay, so that's part why my word for the year is surrender. So having a word for the year will help you set your intention so that you can approach the year the way you want to approach it, right? Right from the beginning, you're approaching it the way you want to approach it. So many years it's been, my word has been much more like, say yes to everything, and this is the year that changes everything, and things like that. But this year is really more about surrendering to the flow of the universe and surrendering to other things and letting it guide me. I've never done that before, and it's terrifying as fuck, but I'm doing it anyway. Okay. Okay. So, all right. So Tiffany Marie says, how do you know the difference between things that move you forward or just stuff? So what I would recommend for you, Tiffany, and for anybody who has that question, is to head over to hustleproofyourlife.com. And download, and I know that Tiffany, you may have access to that already, but in the to-do list, there's a section at the very beginning that's about managing your to-do list. And when you combine the 3 list system that I have with the intentionality of the list for your year, it becomes easier to only move things forward. So like, for example, Tiffany, to your point, right? So like my goal is to do my art, right? To get better at doing my art and so I can do things on Instagram, right? So if I have a list of things to do today, one of them is make a graphic for stage 4 of the squad. The other one is I'm trying to, you know, why don't I pull out my to-do list and I should look at it because I'm not good at coming up with things on its own. Okay, comment on DTS, go to Founding Moms, and check on Jenna's disc quota and 1 hour of art training, okay? Of the 5 things that I listed, only one of those is in progression of my overall goals for the year, right? Checking on Jenna's disc quota is something that I do need to do. I said, all right, tell her I do it, and I will do it. It's on my to-do list. I'll get it done. But it's not a priority over the thing that is actually going to make progress in my business, which is practice your art and your lettering, right? So that becomes a priority. But if I wasn't focusing on like, what is my overarching list for the things that I want to do, because I find it hard to do the art because I'm not good at it and I'm still learning, I will automatically pick something off of this list that's easier to do because it's easier, it's faster, and this is hard and a challenge for me. So I'll always pick the easy over the hard, challenging one. But if I come at it from a different direction and say, okay, I will pick the thing that is going to actually make progress towards my overarching goals in the year, well, then it's a no-brainer. It has to be the Instagram one because that's the only one that's on my list. Jenna's disc quota has nothing to do with my goals, right? That's how that works. And you can use the two together. All right. Okay. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. Oh my God, dude. Alrighty, the whole alpha persona when in spaces is very exhausting, and I'm so glad that that resonates with you, because that need for control, and you are a control freak, that need for control is killing you. It's exhausting you. You have to give yourself, and this may not be the time for you, and that's totally fine. I'm at that space now where I'm just like, I can't anymore. I cannot do this anymore. I want to be different, and in order for me to want to be different, I have to set the intention and then figure out what action am I going to take. And for me, this was big enough to where I wanted it to be the word of the year. Yeah. It's funny that yes, it's true. What was the word that you picked? Share your word with us again, Sophia. Share your word with us. Okay. So now we've got your word. Okay. So, plan for 3 years ahead. And then, now we talked about my art, drawing, feeling good inside, my 4 main objectives we talked about. Okay. One of the things that's important is that I want to reiterate that this took me a while to do, that I don't sit down and figure out my goals all in one sitting. You have to give yourself opportunity to sit down. The first time you sit down and write it out, you're basically just setting the attention. And then the next week or so, your subconscious is marinating on these ideas. And so it's okay for you to just marinate on it and be like, should I do it? I don't know what to do. Talk about it in the squad, talk about it with your besties, whatever. Come back, write more stuff down, back and forth, okay? Now, one thing that is really important, okay, I want you to know, this is what I want to share with you about why I got stuck. This is actually hard to share because it's very personal to me. It's very personal to me, and it's very hard. I'm just gonna tell you. So I started doing this before when I was in Yarmouth. So when we were in Yarmouth is when I started thinking about this, and I was pulling my cards at the time, and my cards kept saying to me, it is time for you to put your plan down. And you guys probably remember that I've said that a couple times. My cards say it's time to put my plan down. I'm doing it today, and I never did it. And there was something off, and I knew that something was off. I just didn't know what it was. I've been feeling a little sick here and a little sick here. Now, I'm an empath, and I feel my gut instincts in a couple of places, my sacrum. As we've all discovered in the squad, you'll learn my actual superpower, but I'm not going to tell it to you here, but I guarantee you it's worth it. If you guys are squad members, you guys can feel free to giggle amongst yourselves knowing what my actual superpower is. Or where my actual superpower comes from, believe me, you're never going to guess it. But my gut, I could feel something was not right. And it just felt a little uncomfortable, but like, it's not like I had gas or a stomach ache or anything. There was just something off, right? Now, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, that feeling blows. It feels like there's a new creature in your stomach, like an alien is here. And it's like, this is a thing that's taken up space in my stomach. By the way, there's no room here for it because my body is already as compact as it can be, right? So whatever this thing is, I needed to go elsewhere. Be not here feeling. So I didn't know what it was. I mean, actually, that's a lie. I did, but I was trying to ignore it because I always do that when I have a sinking feeling about something that I really love and I really want to do. And I'm even talking about it right now. I can feel my stomach starting to hurt. Like, this is true right now. This is true stomach hurting from talking about this. So when I come upon one of those things, I tend to just ignore it initially and pretend like it's not happening, or be like, oh, it's something else. And I try to find any other reason why it is. Why am I feeling this way besides the reason? Because I don't want it to be true. It usually happens right before you break up with somebody. I mean, I haven't broken up with anybody in years, but or leave a job or like something that you thought before I left LuLaRoe. Oh my God, I felt that right at the when I started to realize that LuLaRoe and I were no longer our paths were no longer gonna be together. Oh my God, it was awful. It was awful because I realized that something that I had thought was going to be an important part of my life is now not going to be an important part of my life. And I was like, first of all, there's terror. What the fuck do I do now? Then there's, well, why? And then there's judgment. There's so many things that go in with that moment, right? So what I realized as I was going through this difficulty these last 3 weeks was that over the years, the last 5 years, I feel very creative. I've had a lot of really great ideas, I think. I have a lot of people that I want to help. I have places that I want to make a difference. Like, there's just so many things I want to do. And every time I have a good idea, I keep adding the idea on top of the other ideas, right? So it's like, oh, it's create direct to success. Okay, that's one. Okay, then we're going to do tours and add that. Okay, then we're going to do sex stuff and we're going to add that. And then we're going to do direct sales stuff. We're going to add that. And then you just keep adding things and you keep adding things. And the thing is, I am one person with one body, one soul, one mind, 24 hours a day. And I don't only want to be working and doing, I want to do good works. Yes, of course, that's like a big deal for me. But I don't want to be doing it to the point where I die. Right? And I don't want to be doing it to the point where I sacrifice the joys that I have really worked hard to get and where I'm not enjoying my life. Because number one, I am here on this earth to experience life and to take joy out of it. And my goal, I think we're all here to experience life and take as much joy as we can out of it. And I want to help you have the best experiences and take the most joy out of it in your business, right? For me, it's in your business, right? That's my thing. So I don't want to give that up, right? But I kept adding things on, right? And eventually what happens when you, Tiffany, this is to your point earlier about like, how do you tell whether something is creating progress versus just doing stuff, is when you overwhelm yourself and put too many things on your plate, there you have no choice. Everything you're doing is just stuff. Because there's no way to set intention because there's not enough time to set intention. So basically you're just trying to get through a bunch of things, but your vision isn't coming into reality. This change that you thought you were going to make isn't happening. The things that you really believe in your heart and your head that you're like, I can tell that that's where I'm going. Why am I not there? Right? Why am I not there yet? It's because we keep adding shit on top of the stuff that we had initially. And we don't stop to consider how many things are still serving us or not serving us or right for us or not right for us or things like that, right? So this year, I have two things that I really want to work on. For myself, the biggest thing that I really want to work on for me is racial issues. I have a lot of issues with my race, like just so many racial issues going on in my head. I am half Pakistani, half South Asian, half white. I struggle so much with my mixed identity in terms of the fact that I present completely white and dealt with so many things in Pakistan when it's just, there's so much complication stuff, right? And I want to be a voice. I want to help create awareness. I just want to help be a part of the change that's coming for creating more acceptance and equality and equity in the world for marginalized peoples. That's really important to me. But I can't do that if every time I start talking about it, I get caught up in my own shit and my throat starts to choke up. I'm like, ugh, right? Because there's so much stuff that I'm working through inside about being Pakistani and being white and privilege. And like, dude, I have so much fucking privilege. It's not even funny, right? But like, I'm dealing with all those issues, right? So that's very heavy. I'm not going to be able to take on anything emotionally heavy this year other than this, because this is just really big. Like, this is going to be my primary emotional focus for myself. I want to come out of this being able to be a force for good, not being someone who's so caught up in my own shit that I can't be a force for good. Okay. Now what that means is that there are other areas that I want to be a part of that I have to let go. I can't do it. There's just not enough time in the day. And in terms of priorities, it's not as high of a priority. Now, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because Women of Direct Sales is not something that I'm going to be doing as passionately as I thought I was going to be doing it. I had this vision where I was going to be able to rally all of us and be the change that we wanted to see in direct sales. I had a vision of us, of not just me, but us together as a community, like standing up and making a change in the way direct sales are dealt with, and MLMs and blah, 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 and all of these things. I was in LuLaRoe. It's going to be my springboard because it's a great springboard because it's got such penetration. That was going to be my thing. I was really excited about it. But I'll be honest, the amount of energy and pressure and effort that it would take, then I tried my fucking hardest to get that going. But the truth is that it's too much. It's too much for me to do right now. And it's thankless and it's hard and it's demoralizing. And I just don't feel like I have the stamina for it. And I don't feel like I'm the right person for it. And but I will be part of it if someone else decides to do it. If someone else decides to run with this and wants me to help them, I will jump on their bandwagon and be their cheerleader and support them and do all the things. And I'm keeping the domain name and everything for whoever wants to do it whenever they want to do it. But I can't do that. I have to let it go. Now, I'm telling you this because right at this moment, you have something in your business, in your life that you are not letting go of because at some point in your past, you decided you wanted to do it. And now it is like if I don't get this done or if I don't succeed at this, it will be the demonstration of your failure. Okay. And it is not something you're willing to let go of. This is holding you back. I don't know what this thing is. It could be something from your childhood. It could be something you're working on inside. It could be a hobby, a project. It could be a relationship. It could be your business. It could be the very thing you sell. I don't know what it is, but I know you have something like that because we all do. And none of us want to let go of that thing because we want to be able to do it all. And what's really important as part of this process is being kind to yourself and prioritizing the things that are truly important to you, not the things that were important to you once that maybe don't have any value right now, not the things that were important to you once that you decided were going to be the representation of your value as a human being, right? But but should never have been that way. It's just a thing that you're doing and you might need to workshop some of that, whatever it is. Equally important as adding things to your plan for 2022 is removing things from your plan for life. Doesn't mean you can't bring it back, but you've got to be realistic and honest with yourself about what you can accomplish. Just because you're going to put it on your list doesn't mean you're going to do it. Here's what's going to happen if you put it on your list. If you overload yourself, you're going to put it on your list because you're like, I feel I have to do this, right? And we automatically feel like if we put it on our list, we'll force ourselves to do it. We'll get to it eventually. No. What happens is it gets bumped because it's the lowest priority. It gets bumped from day to day to day to day to day. And then by the time you get to the 17th day that you've bumped it, now you're just feeling like a complete loser because you're like, I haven't done that. You were never going to do it anyway. Why did you set yourself up to feel bad a month in the future by putting this stupid thing on your list? Now, I'm not saying it's a stupid thing. It might have been very important, but right at this moment, it's not an intelligent thing to put on your list because you're not going to do it anyway. It's not going to progress your business. It's not helping you. And it's just part of some baggage that you've brought with you from your childhood or earlier on in your business or whatever, right? Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Thank you so much, Ashley, for that. Thank you. Oh my God, I see skulls. I see skulls. Denial is the land I dwell in too. Learning to recognize when I do that too. Denial is not just a river in Egypt. I am queen of denial. Being aware of that, and don't judge yourself. It's fine. You're in denial. It's okay. It's so much better when we can just acknowledge it and be like, I'm in denial. I'm okay with that. I will get out of it eventually. And what's been really great is the more you observe your process, the more you start to realize exactly how you get to where you're going to go. And then you start to be okay with the phases, right? So like, if you know, LaFern, that like, okay, I start with like, so my response, right, to everything when you suggest it to me is no. So if you're going to say, Vanessa, have you thought about maybe doing this? No, it's stupid. It might be the most brilliant idea in the world. I do not know why. My immediate response is always no. And I always feel like an idiot after I do that because I know right away that I'm going to say yes. I'm like, oh, why did I say that? So I'm going to work with Nikki on, curbing that instant, so I just stopped saying that. But like, if I know that, right, and I tell you guys that, then now it's lost all its power, right? So like when LaFern suggests to me, hey, have you thought about maybe doing your human design? No, right? No, why would I do that? It's so dumb. Not doing that, right? LaFern knows me. She's gonna be like, oh, she's gonna feel like such an idiot in 2 days when she comes to me with it. She's fine. I'm fine. 2 days I come back and be like, LaFern, oh my God, I did my human design and it's amazing, right? But there was no feeling bad the whole way through. LaFern was like, this is just her process. She's going to get through it. Who cares? Vanessa's like, I'm denying it now, but I know that one day I'm going to do this. And then 2 days later, we're both where we need to be. But there's no judgment because you just accept it's part of the process. Just because something is not, you don't respond the way that you wish you did, doesn't mean it has to be a bad thing. You can take its power away by just inoculating it, by saying, hey, listen, this is my process. I'm sorry. I know it's like the most annoying fucking thing in the world, but as I'm working on it, can we just be okay with that? It's fine. It's totally fine, right? It's also something that has to do with create change at the corporate level. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Ashley, I think that just the needs are too much for what I'm going to be able to accomplish. But what that does then is that opens up opens up the freedom for me now, because now that that's not taking up my time, I can focus on these things better, right? I can now focus on the stages in the squad more effectively. I can focus on my racial issues more effectively. I can focus on amplifying LGBT. I can't. The voices that I'm trying to amplify. I can help by providing by providing platforms and creating others. Like, I know what I want to do. I want to be a magnifying glass for everybody else. I don't feel anymore like in the coming years I am going to be that important, and I don't mean that in like a disparaging way. I only want to be important as a lens to amplify others. That's it. My stuff is going to be fine. It's going to do its thing, whatever, but that's what I want. Okay. I want to be a magnifying glass for everybody else who needs that, right? So the only way to do that is for me to first get a big platform and then amplify voices, right? You can't do it without having a big platform, but I'm going to do it anyway, right? So if I have a small platform, I'll just amplify the voice of the small platform. But I want to make a big difference, right? I don't want to be famous. I want to make other people I want to get other people's voices out there, right? But the only way to do that is for me to get there first so that I can bring people along with me, right? Because I have the idea, I have the vision. You guys are going to have your own ideas and visions. And as you go through them, they will get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, but they have to start with the seeds that you plant, okay? LaFern says, and that's exactly why I don't get offended or off-put when people have that initial reactions. All process with rejection. When they're faced with something. Yes, exactly. Absolutely. When we're faced with something opposite to what we originally thought, we immediately reject it. And if you know that, then it's easy to just let it go and be like, you know what, they'll come around. It's fine. I just need to plant the seed and let them think about it. Okay. All right. So the key for planning for the coming year is really making sure that, number one, okay, so we've talked a lot about a lot of different things in my process and how I put it all together, and it took a while, right? Number one, you got to write this shit down. Don't try to do this in your head. You have to write it down. Write it and type it out if you want. Write it out if you want, but it has to be written down so you can go back and read it again. It will make a huge difference in your life. I know it blows, but you got to do that, okay? If it makes you feel better, do bullet journaling or something like that for it. It'll be really fun, right? First things first is you have to get very, very clear on what you want. LaFern, can you drop Amy Lee's link here if you don't mind, if you're able? If not, the link is in the description. But what I really, and feel free to, anyone here who's worked with Amy Lee, please pimp the shit out of her here right now. Amy Lee Westerveld, I recommend going to her if you want to get really clear on your vision. If you're like, listen, I love this idea, Vanessa, but I don't even know what I want, right? If that's where you're stuck, and that can be a very scary place, go Amy Lee Westerveld, go there. She will help you get extremely clear on what it is that you actually want, and not just like for your business. Like, what do you want? What do you, LaFern, want? I know LaFern figured out what she wanted from Amy Lee. I figured out what I wanted from Amy Lee. Oh my God, I can't even tell you. Like, she is so good at helping. Like, she just reaches in and grabs like what, like she'll talk to you and she'll just grab your true goals and life's meaning, and she'll, and then she'll put it in front of you and let you figure it out. It's amazing. She's just so brilliant. So she will help you get very, very clear on what your true desires are. Not what you think you want, not what other people have said that you want, not your expectations from your grandmother or your mother or whoever else it is that told you that you got to be this. Really what you want. That's the number one step. Now, the problem most people have after that is they're like, well, now that I know what I want, how do I get it? Okay. Whatever that is, I want you to take that, what you want, and figure out, okay, what do I want to accomplish in the coming year based off of that, right? Marinate on that. Give yourself time to be gentle, dream on it, and don't worry if it takes you into January. It's fine. You can just plan, like make your New Year start in February. My friend Emily, her New Year starts in November. So November is the beginning of her new year to November. So it doesn't matter. Pick whatever month you want. It's fine. Then I recommend, once you've figured out, right, so I have my 4 items, and then I'm like, okay, what are my major roadblocks right now that are going to keep me from doing that? Because I know that there's some things in the way right now that I just will need to sort out. So I just put those immediate roadblocks. So that gives me an immediate action item list for things to work on. Tiffany, to your earlier point, that helps you say, okay, if these are the 4 things that I want, and these are my immediate roadblocks for those 4 things, then I need to workshop those first. Otherwise, I'm never really going to get there. So it gets you started in terms of what direction you want to go in, okay? Then I really, really, really want to recommend that you download Hustle Proof Your Life. Okay, Hustle Proof Your Life. If you have not yet downloaded it, download Hustle Proof Your Life. Go through the guides in there, and what that's going to help you do is that'll help you really start taking the steps in the right direction, so that you're starting to get in, so that you can get rid of all the junk that you don't need to be doing, because that's the number 2 thing that's super important. You got to get rid of the junk. If you're doing all sorts of junk, then it's just going to take up all the time that you could be spending doing things that you really want to be doing, right? Okay. So now you know your vision. You're like, I know what I want, right? I'm pointing out here because this is what I wanted. Okay, I know what I want. I know what's going to block me from getting there. Okay, I know what's going to block me from getting there. I have discarded all of the junk from my life. Okay, this is, by the way, going to be in the show notes. I've discarded all the junk from my life. Okay, discarded that. Last but not least, show up next week for the next week Stop Shitting All Over Yourself special. And that's going to be where I'm going to show you the blueprint for how you actually accomplish this. Because one of the things I'm going to tell you right now is that implementing your strategy is something that is not out there right now. You can go and look and buy tools from every coach on the planet. There's coaches everywhere who are selling you tools. No one is selling you a strategy. Okay, no one's selling you a strategy. Nobody's saying, listen, you've got all the pieces. You've got the email, you've got the chatbots, you've got your website, you've got your business page, you've got your stuff. How do you get it so that people are following along the funnel to actually buy from you, so that now you can focus on doing that thing that you're really, really good at? That's the part that you're missing, and that's where you get stuck in. So that's where you spend a lot of administrative time. I want you to be on Stop Shitting All Over Yourself next week. That's going to be the 29th. I want you to be there, and I will actually walk you through exactly step by step what happens, right, with your audience. How do you get them to go from place to place? What is this issue, right? So that you can see how we go from vision for what I want for my life, what's blocking me, getting rid of the junk, putting the plan in place for your vision for your business, actualizing the strategy. And once it's actualized, then after that, you only need to do 2 things. That's it. You don't need to do anything else. Well, yeah, 2 things. 1, you need to find the people. And 2, you need to do your job. In between that, all of the, I'm interested in what you're doing. Oh, look, this is kind of fun. Oh, I'm going to get to know you a little bit better. Oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to buy from you. Oh, here's my money. All of that will happen automatically. Your funnel will do it for you. And that is how you have a business that gives you freedom. And that's how you live the life that you want to live, right? All of this comes together. It's all one big package deal. But it starts with clarity of vision. Okay? You can't have anything unless you have clarity of vision. So that's what I want to encourage you to do right off the bat, is getting very, very clear on what it is that you really want. What time do you want to wake up? What time do you want to go to bed? What temperature do you like your house at? Do you like it warm? Do you like it cold? You know, do you like lots of blankets? Is there a place that you feel safe at? When do you want to work? When do you not want to work? Do you want to hang out with your kids? What kind of things do you like to do with your kids? Do you have a show that you want to watch? What do you want your life to look like? What things are important to you? What kind of stuff are you workshopping? Do you want to be in therapy? What are those things? Yes, by the way, I want to be in therapy. I'm in therapy. I love it. That's the key thing, is knowing what you really want, because otherwise you're always going to be disappointed because you don't know how to connect what you get with what you wanted in the first place, right? Because if you don't, the disappointment comes the difference between expectation and reality. But if you don't know what you're expecting, then reality is always going to disappoint you because you don't know what you're expecting. But when you get really clear on your vision, then when it comes to pass, you can literally connect those 2 things together, like the prayer book that that Elisa was talking about earlier, where when you go down, you write your journal every night, and then at the end of 6 years, you look back and you're like, holy shit, I manifested all this stuff. That happens because you have the clarity of vision. That's what it is. The clarity of vision is where it all begins. All righty, look at me doing this at exactly 8:59. Okay. All right. So, okay. So Elisa says, yes, she also does not want to be well known. I want to watch other women explode and become well known. Exactly. Right. And so when you're like, this is what I want, then the question is, okay, how do I get there? You make the steps, and then it's just about following the steps. And I can help you with those steps, by the way. So if anybody is not sure, or you want a specific strategy for your business, or you're like, listen, I don't want to do this myself, reach out to me or my sister, and we can help you figure out what your plan is. If like, you're like, listen, I just want you to sit with me and do it. Me, Amy Lee, my sister. Amy Lee is always the person I'd recommend, just because she's so good at vision. She's really good at like working through the vision part. I'm very good at like the practical strategy application. Her and I are actually planning on doing like a year-long intensive in 2023. We've been talking about it because we feel like if you put the 2 of us together, there'll be some incredible fireworks for our clients. Okay. All right. Direct sales will not support the path I'm going on to help others with their expansion like I want to. And I want people to do direct sales. This is not a direct sale diss, and I know that it's not from Ashley either. I just want you guys to know that. We're all totally pro direct sales and get your money, dude. Absolutely. I want to help you with that. I just can't be the change in the industry. That's the part that I can't do. Okay. LaFern, your true soul's vision. Yes, that's what Amy Lee helps you find out, is your true soul's vision without all the junk. She's really good at cutting through the crap, like so good at doing that. She's been my, oh my God, she's been my spiritual coach for like 4 or 5 years now. Oh my God, without her, I would never have connected with my guides. Never without her. Oh my God, I'm so grateful to her for connecting me with my guides. And it was something small that she did that just did it. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. It's more with being than doing. Exactly. Alrighty, clarity creates cash. Okay, guys, seriously, this was epic. I had so much fun sharing this with you because, one, I felt like a huge weight is off my chest because I know that I've not been showing up the way that I want, and it's really been bothering me, and I just couldn't figure out why. It's probably gonna take me a couple of weeks to like get back onto track. But now that like I've let go and shed the weight that I was holding on to, which was really hard because these are things that I really wanted to do. And I really wanted my time at LuLaRoe, like what I experienced there, to mean something in terms of the change that I could make in direct sales. It's still going to mean something, and it still does mean a lot. It's just not going to happen the way that I thought, and I'm sad. I'm mourning that. What you're seeing right now is not me being like, it's just grief for something that I know I'm not going to do the way I wanted to do it. And that's okay because I have so many amazing, exciting things coming. Like amazing, right? Like the whole Instagram thing in and of itself is amazing, right? I'm so excited about that. But for one door to open, other doors have to close. And that's what I want to leave you with today. And I want to invite you to share this podcast with anyone that you feel has doors that are ready to open, or maybe doors that are ready to close, right? And they're not entirely sure how to navigate that space, because when you're navigating a space of transition like that, it's very hard to figure out the right thing to do and to not doubt your decision. So this podcast will really, really help anyone who is doubting their decision or is unsure about how to proceed with the future. Make sure that you share this with them. Also, one last thing. We are now on Apple. We're now on Apple Podcasts. Thank God. It took us forever. So please head over to Apple Podcasts. Leave a review for this podcast. Tell everyone how amazing you think it is, because your reviews help other people get access to it. They get it recommended to them, and then that's how we help more and more people. All right, guys, you are amazing. Sometimes you have to burn one thing down to rise from the ashes. I got to tell you, I think my spirit animal might be a phoenix. Oh my God, might be a phoenix. That's what I'm saying. All right, guys, you're amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today for the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast. This was a longer episode than usual, but it is because we were planning for a full year. Oh, no, wait. We're planning for 1 quarter, but that still takes a long time. Be sure to share this with your friends, leave a review, and don't forget to join us next week on December 29th for another live recording of the Stop Shitting All Over Yourself podcast, where I will share with you the blueprint you need to have a successful business that gives you all the freedom that you could ever want. Thank